Have you ever wondered why men tend to die earlier than women? Let me give you a truly shocking number. In the United States, the average life expectancy for men is about 73 years, while for women it is almost 79. In other words, men lose nearly 6 years of life. 6 years of mornings, 6 years of people they love, 6 years of everything they spent a lifetime working toward. Most people think the reason is simple. Men are reckless. They love risk. They do dangerous things nobody asked them to do. But the truth is, those reckless moments are only a tiny part of the story. The real killers are much more familiar, much smaller, and far more silent. And what makes them truly alarming is this. Millions of men are facing these exact same threats right now, today, without ever realizing it. Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic emperor who led Rome through war, plague, and personal loss, wrote in his private journal, "The first rule is to keep an untroubled spirit. The second is to look things in the face and know them for what they are." Today, that is exactly what we are going to do. We are going to look these threats directly in the face. I want to share the 5 real reasons men are quietly losing years off their lives. And here is the part most people never expect. Alcohol is only number 5. The habits ranked above it are far more common, far more invisible, and far more deadly. In fact, the number 1 cause is something so ordinary, so familiar, that almost no man ever questions it. And according to research, it can silently cut up to 12 years from a man's life. I want you to stay with me through all 5, because if you recognize even one of these in your daily life, today is the day to begin changing it. The Stoics believed that awareness is the beginning of every transformation. Not willpower, not motivation, awareness. So let us begin. Before we go further, if this kind of content speaks to you, subscribe to Stoic Post and turn on notifications. Every week we bring you wisdom that is ancient in origin, but urgently relevant today. Share this video too. Someone you know may need to hear it. Habit number 5, alcohol. A lot of people are surprised when they hear that alcohol ranks only 5th. They expect it to be higher. After all, the connection between drinking and poor health is something most men have heard their entire lives. And yes, alcohol is genuinely harmful. According to health data, it can shorten a man's life by roughly 2 to 3 years on average. But that average number is deceiving because it hides a much darker reality underneath. The difference from man to man is enormous. Some men drink lightly and see very little impact. But men who drink fast, drink heavily, or drink in concentrated bursts can lose 10, 15, even 20 years of life. The danger is not just in how much a man drinks, it is in how he drinks. In the United States, the most common drinking pattern among men is not daily drinking. It is weekend drinking. It is finishing work on Friday and pouring several drinks in just a couple of hours. It is drinking fast enough to feel it quickly. And that pattern, what researchers call binge drinking, is exactly what hits the liver the hardest. Here is the biology most men never learn. Your liver can only process roughly 1 standard drink per hour. When you drink faster than that, something begins happening inside your body that you cannot feel in the moment. The liver gets overwhelmed. Liver cells start dying faster than they can be replaced. Inflammation builds. Fat begins forming inside the liver. And the long-term risk of fatty liver disease, fibrosis, and cirrhosis climbs steadily higher with every repeated episode. This becomes dramatically more serious after age 40. At that point in life, the liver's ability to repair itself slows down significantly. The exact same amount of alcohol your body handled with little consequence in your 20s can cause 2 or 3 times the damage in your 40s and beyond. And the effects do not stop at the liver. Alcohol disrupts the architecture of sleep. Even if you fall asleep quickly, the restorative stages the body needs are cut short. It raises blood pressure. It lowers testosterone. It increases inflammation throughout the body, feeds anxiety, and quietly drains your energy day by day. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus taught that the man who cannot govern himself is enslaved, not by external forces, but by his own habits and appetites. He does not choose what to feel or when to stop. The habit chooses for him. And that is the trap most men never identify, because the drinking feels earned, social, and completely normal. Everyone around him does it. The Friday drinks feel like a reward after a hard week. How could something that feels that routine be dangerous? That is exactly the Stoic warning. The things we do not examine are the things that control us. So the real question is not whether you drink. The real question is, who is actually in control when you do? A few straightforward choices protect you here. Give yourself at least 2 alcohol-free days every week. Slow down when you drink. Eat before and during, and allow your liver genuine recovery time the day after you have had more than usual. Alcohol is not the fastest killer on this list, but it is steady, quiet, and far more powerful than most men want to admit. And remember, that is only number 5. What comes next is more dangerous still. Habit number 4, chronic stress. If alcohol surprised you at number 5, number 4 may genuinely stop you. Because stress, not the dramatic, acute stress of a crisis, but the low-grade chronic stress of modern daily life, ranks above alcohol in terms of long-term damage to a man's body and lifespan. A landmark 30-year study out of Harvard found that men living with chronic stress lose an average of more than 4 years of life. But that statistic does not begin to capture the real picture. Because stress is not just a feeling, it is a biological event. And when it runs continuously without real relief, it begins to reshape the body from the inside out. Here is what is actually happening. When the body senses a threat, any threat, it releases a hormone called cortisol. In short bursts, cortisol is protective. It sharpens focus, raises energy, and prepares the body to respond. But when the source of stress never goes away, when pressure becomes the permanent background of a man's daily experience, cortisol never shuts off. And that is where the destruction begins. Sustained high cortisol weakens the immune system, making the body slower to fight infection and slower to heal. It raises blood pressure as blood vessels tighten and the heart is pushed to work harder than it should. It elevates blood sugar, because cortisol continuously signals the body to release glucose for energy that never gets used. It fragments sleep, even for men who believe they are resting adequately. They wake at 3 a.m., mind racing, unable to settle. And over months and years, every major system in the body begins wearing down under the pressure, like machinery that is never allowed to cool or be serviced. Seneca wrote, "It is not that I am brave, but that I know what is worth fearing." He also wrote, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." And here is where the Stoic insight cuts deepest. Much of what men experience as chronic stress is not the weight of external events alone. It is the weight of how those events are being carried, internally, silently, without release. Many men are shaped by a culture that equates emotional stoicism with strength. Not stoicism in the philosophical sense. The Stoics were deeply reflective, emotionally intelligent people, but the cultural version. Stay quiet. Push through. Do not burden anyone. hold everything inside. And so the worries accumulate, the frustrations stack, the fears get compressed into the body with nowhere to go.
Think of it this way. The body is like a precision-built engine, designed for endurance, built to recover. Chronic stress is like running that engine at full throttle with no coolant and no maintenance schedule. The machine still moves, it still functions, but underneath, everything is overheating, grinding, and slowly breaking apart. And there is no warning light, no alarm, just a slow, invisible deterioration that shows up years later as a diagnosis no one saw coming. The Stoic prescription here is not to eliminate difficulty from life. That was never the goal. Marcus Aurelius faced wars, epidemics, betrayal, and the deaths of children, and he ruled Rome through all of it. The goal is not fewer problems. The goal is a release valve, some channel through which the nervous system is given permission to discharge what it has been carrying. It does not require dramatic change. A walk, a real, honest conversation, not performing fine, but actually saying what is weighing on you. An hour doing something that genuinely returns you to yourself. One moment each day where you stop, breathe slowly and deliberately, and allow your body to leave survival mode. These are not indulgences, they are maintenance. And your body knows exactly how to recover once you give it the conditions to do so. Stress is only number 4. The habits above it are even more dangerous and even harder to see. Habit number 3, social isolation. Number 3 is something most men never think to examine. It builds so slowly, so quietly, that most men do not notice it happening until they look around one day and realize the circle is almost gone. In their 20s, men are typically surrounded. Friends, teammates, colleagues. Connection is woven naturally into daily life. But by the 40s, the picture starts to change. Work consumes more time. Family becomes the primary relationship. Old friendships thin out, not through any dramatic falling out, just through drift. Fewer calls, fewer meetups. And most of the time, no one consciously chooses the distance. It just grows. By the time many men reach their 50s, they look around and realize something unsettling. Their real circle has shrunk to almost nothing. Family on one side, themselves on the other. And that is not just a loneliness problem, it is a longevity problem. A massive analysis of more than 300,000 people found that social isolation raises the risk of early death by up to 50%. That is a figure comparable to the long-term damage of smoking heavily for years. Think about that for a moment. The absence of genuine human connection poses as much risk to a man's lifespan as one of the most well-known health hazards in existence. And yet nobody talks about it in the same breath. Unlike cigarettes, isolation carries no warning label. It does not create a sharp, immediate pain. It does not appear on a blood test. It creates emptiness. And that emptiness, sustained over time, triggers real and measurable biological damage. Inflammation rises throughout the body. The immune system loses efficiency. Blood pressure becomes harder to regulate. The risk of depression and anxiety rises sharply. Self-care gradually deteriorates. Worse nutrition, less physical activity, skipped medical appointments. And all of it can trace back to something as quiet as fewer phone calls, fewer people who truly know what you are carrying. The Stoics are sometimes misread as cold, as people who prized self-sufficiency above all else. But that is a distortion. Marcus Aurelius wrote extensively about his debts to teachers, mentors, and friends. Epictetus spoke about the natural bond between human beings as foundational to a meaningful life. Seneca famously wrote, "Without a friend, you cannot speak with confidence about anything."
True self-sufficiency in the Stoic tradition was about not being enslaved to the opinions of others, not about withdrawing from human connection altogether. The Stoics were deeply communal. They understood that a man without a circle worth trusting is a man carrying weight that grows heavier with every year. Here is the good news, and it is significant. Reversing isolation does not require dramatic effort. The body responds to genuine connection quickly, sometimes almost immediately. One honest phone call to someone you have not spoken to in too long. One coffee on a weekend. Joining a small group, a class, a community of any kind, where showing up consistently builds something real over time. Just one renewed connection, and something in the body shifts. Not just mood, not just outlook, but actual biological markers. Because connection does not only feed the spirit, it feeds the lifespan. And this is only reason number 3. The next 2 are even more dangerous. Habit number 2. Sleep deprivation. Most men know sleep matters, but almost none of them know how much. Because sleep deprivation ranks above chronic stress and above social isolation as a driver of early death in men. And it is a habit so quietly normalized that most men are in the middle of it without any awareness that something is wrong. Many men treat sleep the way they treat breaks at work, as something optional, something that can be shortened when there are more pressing things to do. They stay up late to finish one more task, to watch one more episode, to finally have a moment to themselves after a long day. The logic feels reasonable, but the body does not experience it as a trade-off. It experiences it as an emergency. Here is what is actually happening during those hours your body was supposed to be sleeping. The brain is clearing metabolic waste, literally washing out toxic proteins that accumulate during waking hours. The heart rate is dropping, blood pressure is falling, and the cardiovascular system is actively recovering from the demands placed on it during the day. Hormones are resetting: testosterone, cortisol, insulin, growth hormone. All of them depend on sleep to return to healthy baselines. The immune system is running its most intensive maintenance cycle. None of this is happening when you are awake. When you cut sleep short, you interrupt all of it, and the damage compounds. Research from the American Academy of Sleep Medicine found that men who consistently sleep fewer than 6 hours per night live an average of more than 7 years less than men who get adequate rest. A single night of only 5 hours of sleep has been shown to reduce immune function by nearly 30%. Repeated night after night, that reduction never fully recovers before the next shortfall hits. The long-term picture is sobering. Chronic sleep loss makes the body effectively 6 to 10 years biologically older. Blood sugar regulation degrades. Cardiovascular strain increases. Cognitive function declines. Focus, memory, emotional regulation, and reaction time all erode. And what makes this truly insidious is that a sleep-deprived man typically cannot accurately assess how impaired he is. He tells himself he's just a little tired. Meanwhile, internally, the heart, the brain, the blood vessels, and the hormonal system are all compensating around a deficit that keeps growing. Epictetus taught that wisdom begins with understanding what is in your control and what is not. Sleep is deeply in your control, far more than most men recognize, and treating it as optional is one of the most costly decisions a man can make without ever realizing he is making it. The recovery window is genuinely encouraging. After just 2 to 3 nights of consistent, full rest, 7 to 8 hours, blood pressure begins to ease. Focus sharpens. Cortisol levels normalize. Hunger hormones return to balance, reducing cravings and supporting healthier weight. The body responds to real rest with remarkable speed, because sleep is not passive. It is the most intensive repair process your body has. Protect it like the asset it is. Set a consistent sleep and wake time, including weekends. The body's internal clock depends on regularity. Stop screens at least 90 minutes before bed, because the blue light they emit suppresses melatonin production and signals to the brain that it is still daytime. Keep the room cool, dark, and quiet. Limit caffeine after early afternoon. These are not complicated interventions. They are the conditions your body has always needed to do its most important work. Sleep deprivation is a slow and invisible thief, but the moment you take it seriously, your body begins to recover faster than you would expect. And now we reach the one habit that ranks above all of them, the most dangerous habit of all.
Habit number 1. Sitting. It is not alcohol. It is not stress. It is not even lack of sleep. The single greatest threat to a man's lifespan is something so ordinary, so universal, so completely accepted as part of modern life that almost no man ever stops to question it. It is sitting. Just sitting. No drama, no warning label, no immediate pain. And that is precisely what makes it so dangerous, because it feels completely harmless. Sitting at a desk feels like work. Sitting on the couch feels like rest. Sitting in the car is just getting somewhere. And so the hours accumulate without any sense that something damaging is happening. But the body is not neutral about this. The body has a very clear response to extended stillness, and that response, repeated day after day, year after year, quietly dismantles a man's health from the inside. A 20-year study that followed more than 120,000 people found that men who sit for more than 8 hours a day have a 60% higher risk of dying prematurely. And a sedentary lifestyle overall can subtract up to 12 years from a man's life. 12 years. Not from a dramatic failure, not from a single bad choice. From the accumulated weight of years spent largely still. Here is the biology unfolding beneath the surface while a man sits. The large muscle groups in the legs, among the most metabolically active tissue in the entire body, essentially shut down. Blood circulation slows and blood begins pooling in the lower extremities, raising the risk of clotting and cardiovascular strain. The brain receives less oxygenated blood, which produces the familiar afternoon fog, that feeling of being mentally heavy and unfocused that most men chalk up to just being tired. The body shifts into insulin resistance, raising the risk of type 2 diabetes even in men who eat reasonably well. Digestion slows. Bone density gradually decreases. The immune system weakens, and the risk of certain cancers, prostate, colon, and pancreatic among them, rises measurably with prolonged sitting. But the detail that matters most is not the total number of hours spent sitting. It is how long a man sits without interruption. After just 30 minutes of unbroken stillness, the body begins shifting into energy conservation mode. Metabolism drops. Fat stores more readily. Circulation slows further, and the lean muscle tissue that took time and effort to build begins a process of quiet deterioration, not dramatically, but steadily, in a way that compounds across months and years. The ancient principle, use it or lose it, is not a motivational slogan. It is a description of what is actually happening at the cellular level. Every day you remain still beyond what the body was designed to tolerate. Marcus Aurelius rose before dawn. He trained physically throughout his adult life, despite the demands of ruling an empire during some of the most turbulent decades in Roman history. He understood, as the Stoics broadly understood, that the body is not a container for the mind. It is the instrument through which the mind acts in the world. A deteriorating body limits everything: thought, energy, presence, contribution. A strong and active body expands what is possible. Caring for the body was never vanity in Stoic philosophy, it was obligation. And here is what makes this habit genuinely hopeful. The threshold for change is remarkably low. You do not need a gym membership. You do not need intense workouts. You do not need to overhaul your lifestyle in a single week. You need movement. Regular, consistent, distributed throughout the day. Stand up every 30 minutes and move for at least 2 minutes. That is the minimum dose that research shows begins to interrupt the metabolic shutdown. Walk for 5 to 10 minutes after each meal. This single habit has been shown to significantly improve blood sugar regulation and cardiovascular function. Take calls standing. Use stairs when they are available. Park farther from the entrance. On weekends, choose active outings. Walking, hiking, cycling, anything that gets the body doing what it was designed to do. Place the television remote somewhere that requires you to stand to get it. Do small physical tasks you might otherwise avoid. Make your own coffee, tidy up, refill your water. None of these things alone are remarkable, but done consistently, day after day, they restore circulation, sharpen metabolism, protect the heart, lift mood, and give back years of life that would otherwise be lost to stillness. Sitting is a silent killer. But the moment you stand up, even for just 2 minutes, your body begins to respond. Movement is medicine, and the prescription has no minimum dose too small to matter. The Stoic path forward. When you step back and look at all 5 habits together, one truth becomes impossible to ignore. Men do not lose their health in one dramatic moment. They lose it slowly. Through the small choices repeated so many times, they stop feeling like choices at all. Alcohol, on average, costs a man 2 to 3 years. Chronic stress steals more than 4. Social isolation can take 5. Sleep deprivation erases more than 7. And a sedentary life can cut away 12 or more. Add those numbers honestly, and you begin to understand why the gap between men and women exists. Not because men are inherently fragile, but because men are disproportionately exposed to habits that accumulate without being examined. The Stoics had a practice called memento mori, the deliberate, clear-eyed remembrance of mortality. Not as morbidity, not as fear, but as a tool for clarity. Because the man who genuinely understands that his time is finite treats each day differently. He is less likely to let the hours pass on autopilot. He is more likely to ask, is what I am doing right now moving me toward the life I actually want to live? Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." The habits we have discussed today are not outside events. They are choices. Quiet ones, habitual ones, invisible ones, but choices nonetheless. And that means every one of them can be redirected. You do not need to fix everything at once. The Stoics never counseled dramatic overnight transformation. They counseled the slow, deliberate, consistent accumulation of better choices, one day at a time, one decision at a time. That is how real health is built, and how it is reclaimed. So here is what I want you to do. Not eventually, right now, before this video ends. First, stand up and walk for 2 minutes. Right now. Your body will thank you immediately. Second, tonight, go to bed 30 minutes earlier than you normally would. Just 30 minutes. Let your body begin to recover what it has been missing. Third, before the day is over, reach out to someone you care about
but have not spoken to in longer than you should have. One message, one call. Just reconnect. These three things cost nothing. They take almost no time, but they represent the exact kind of deliberate, intentional action that separates the man who talks about changing from the man who actually does. Longevity is not luck. It is not genetics alone. It is direction. It is intention. It is the weight of 10,000 small choices made with awareness rather than inertia. And the man who understands that, who really takes it in, does not just live longer, he lives better, more present, more grounded, more fully himself. The Stoics called this eudaimonia, the flourishing life. Not the easiest life, not the most comfortable life, the life most fully and deliberately lived. That life is not behind you. It is available to you right now, starting with the very next choice you make. If this video gave you something useful, hit like and subscribe to Stoic Post. Every week, we bring you wisdom that is ancient in origin and immediately practical in application. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. And take care of yourself, because the Stoics were right. The body and the mind are not separate. Tend to